Hello everyone, this is Jonah the Orange, and today we're going to be talking about the tournament that just took place only a few days ago in Total War Arena. I'd like to thank all the people who did tune in. It was a last minute thing, it wasn't really scheduled at all. So it was a bit of a shit show, but some things that just cracked me up was that people would enter and go, oh, who's your co-host? Can you get rid of the toolbar and all this shit? And I'm thinking, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't have no co-host, man. I just stayed up until early in the morning and started streaming. Well, I guess I did have a co-host. Jim Beam was right beside me. He was a good host, I'll tell you. He is great. And I guess I should say I'm going to make it a bit more professional next time. But let's be honest, I'm not doing that. I might have a guest or something, I don't know. Yeah, a co-host. But the toolbar will probably still be there and shit. That's enough of that. Let's talk about the tournament itself and what we can learn from it. And let's start off with what commanders we did see a lot. Millie was fucking everywhere, man. He was just all over the place. The teams could not get enough of the Millie Vanilli running those 3-speed units. What I found interesting is most of the game they were just playing a defensive role, protecting the range from the Cav, which I honestly thought was Leo's job, but he's fucked off somewhere. No one was playing him. The one time we did see him was on Pikes. He was not very popular at all. He must have been on holiday or some shit. Then again, throughout the whole tournament, we never really saw anyone raise shields or test judo over their own range units to provide them protection. That may have been because there were so many Scorpions and Catapults in every game. Well, not so many, but they're in there. They're fucking there, okay? Talking about range units and what kills them, we did see a lot of Solo Cav. That was the most played Cav from memory. I could be fucking wrong. But when it comes to the semi-finals and finals, Solo Cav was the boss. Arminius Cav may have been a tie, but we all saw that one coming. They're quick, they run around the battlefield, they kill stuff. I did not see the Sulla getting up there with the Cav. The other choices was Boudica at one stage and Caesar. So it just goes to show they're just spreading the A's with all those debuffs and buffs. When it came to commander selection, they still did the usual Cav thing and spotted, tried to charge down some ranged units. But we did not see the usual commanders on the Cav, such as Alexander, Scipio, etc. We did see Arminius. With that said, let's move on to the ranged units. It was basically Slingers, Kanane Archers, or Boudica Archers. The interesting thing to me was that they were using tier 7. I guess we should talk about the Javelins. Let's fucking continue. Let's just continue with the Archers and Slingers first. The Greek Archers were using tier 7 instead of tier 8. And I don't blame them. If you look at the stats, the tier 7 ones do more damage. They have the snipe ability. But meanwhile, the Boudica, or should I say, Barbarian Archers were using tier 8. And both those units have snipe. So it just goes to show how powerful that ability is compared to the others. And that the Greek players were willing to go down a tier to get the snipe ability plus the extra damage in general. Pretty much what I'm saying is that tier 8 Greek Archers suck nuts, while the tier 8 Barbarian ones are pretty good, and that's why we saw an even playfield when it came to Boudica and Kanane firing off those arrows at each other. Now let's move on to the Slingers. Of course, we did not see them every game. It all depended on what map the teams were playing on. When we did see them, they did a shit ton of damage. They were still useful taking out the enemy range units. But the problem was, some maps, there's a bunch of shit in the way. So it's a solid choice, but you might get unlucky. If you're solo queuing, you probably get unlucky, get a shit map, and then you're kind of fucked. You start wishing you had gone the Archers. When it came to the Javelins, they weren't in every game, but when we did see them, they were playing the tier 7 ones. A similar reason to why people were playing the tier 7 Greek archers. They just have better abilities on that unit with raised shields. And I think every time, from memory, every time they were playing Caesar, getting those buffs and debuffs going, silencing the enemy, and having those shields up in case they came under Archer or Slinger Fire. And that was the main reason they were brought to the battlefield, is to get that silence off, to get the buffs for their own units, just to be a pain in the ass. And everything but damage, really. We didn't see them do too much damage. It's just about spreading those aids about. So we've covered the cav, covered the range, said what I wanted to say about the fucking spears. Let's move on to the sword units. And you may be thinking, oh, it's obvious, they probably went Germanicus, why wouldn't you? Nope, Hannibal was the fucking main pick. He was popular as all hell. Germanicus coming in at second place for the swords. The funny thing about the Hannibal swords though is that they are kind of similar to the barbarians. They have a good run speed, 4.2 movement. Their strike ability is slam, which stuns the enemy and slows them. Well, should I say knocks them over. It does something. It fucking slows them as well. So it just goes to show the barbarian commanders are not even the best at being barbarian commanders. Meanwhile, the Hannibal swords were on every team, I'm pretty sure at this stage. Every damn game they were in there and getting good scores, high damage. Not only that, they have the movement speed and they can slow the enemy if they try to go after their ranged units. We did see a bit of Germanicus though, and he does not play like the barbarians at all. So it's good to see he's making an effort to turn up to the battlefield once in a while. Bit of a lazy prick. So I think the main reason we did see Hannibal is his movement speed. His reliability, he can't be routed for a certain amount of time. He has good damage output. He's just got the whole package. With that said, let's move on to the siege equipment. We saw both Scorpions and Catapults. But at the end of the day, I've got to say, the Catapult seems like the better option. Especially when the teams did decide to play defensively. It was just a better option. They could shoot into the fog of war when their team was all hiding. They didn't have to rely on them being able to see anything. The strats they were using with the catapults though hardly ever works in solo queue. You can't just hope the whole team stays back. So in solo queue, I think Scorpions are still the way to go over catapults. But when it came to these team fights, where they could tell everyone to hold back, the catapults just got the ticket lead and carried the game. The least surprising pick in the tournament when it came to any unit was the Pikes. Everyone was playing the Kanani Pikes. I think we saw maybe 1 or 2 Leos. But at the end of the day, Kanani was the popular choice, and in my opinion, the obvious choice. They were also not in every game. Some of these units were in every single damn game. While the Pikes weren't, they were still in the majority of the games though. When it comes to things we did not see a lot of, that was the War Dogs and Elephants. They were in there in the quarterfinals. In the finals though, they did not fit the unit compositions. And there goes my fucking phone. Most of these teams were based around defending their ranged units, and Elephants and War Dogs just aren't good at that. So if they're weak or not, who bloody knows? They just don't fit into these combos that are being run. When it came to commanders, you did not see a lot. There was only one. Hasdrubal is a poor bastard. Poor motherfucker did not get to see any gameplay that I don't even think in the quarterfinals. He was just not around. No one gave a shit about that dude. We did see Scipio, but I think it's because they were limited to one of each commander. When Scipio was used, he was used on siege equipment. Mainly, in my opinion, mainly because Caesar and Sulla had already been picked for other roles. So he was there, But he wasn't there to use his charge or use his cav. He was there to just take the catapults. Or scorpions. So yeah, Scipio was there, but I think if they could choose a commander more than once, we would not see him at all. The commander I saw the third least amount of times was good old Versi, because at tier 8 he still doesn't have all those awesome upgrades. I think if the tournament was at tier 10, we would see a lot more of him. But since it is tier 8, he's not that great. That rhymed. Fuck yeah. I'm a rapper. And on a side note, with the tournament done, you can see why they have designed the new commander the way they have. Especially his last ability that does a lot of damage. It has a long range, but it shoots in such a high arc, it's very easy to dodge. Now, what's a slow unit that takes a while to move out of the way, which likes to hide on high terrain, on cliffs, etc.? That's catapults and kind of scorpions, but mostly catapults. And one thing you will notice, when you shoot archers and slingers at the catapults, a lot of the damage does get blocked by the catapult itself. If you're shooting a really high arc though, it won't hit it, it will hit the crew instead. And that is the main reason I think they have designed the commander that way. And that brings us to the end of the video. Please subscribe and thumbs up and all that shit. And I'll see you the next time.